Hey guys, just doing a little late night review here. It's by myself this time. It's actually asleep. She has to get up in the morning. Those of you who know me well know that I've always been a big He-Man fan back when I was a kid. In fact, if you look at here, I basically have recent He-Man that they were, and I even have the 2002 He-Man version right here. So, obviously, when I heard that Kevin Smith was doing Masters of the Universe Revelations and saw the voice cast, Mark Hamill and Lena Headey and Sarah Michelle Gellar, Tony Todd, Kevin Conroy, just a lot of big names. And Kevin Smith, who I generally enjoy as a filmmaker. Not every movie's great, but I enjoyed most of the Jersey stuff. I liked Red State. I liked Tusk. It was weird, but I liked it. I never saw Yoga Hosers. It looked kind of dumb, but okay, whatever. Not everyone's going to be perfect. So I was curious to check it out as a He-Man fan. And the trailers, made me feel pretty good. Looked like pretty badass. And animation, let me just say from the start some of the positives. Animation is really good. It looks really cool. Some of the action scenes and some of the scenery is just really cool. So in that part, definitely a good job. So I will be talking full spoilers here because I watched all 5 episodes of part 1 there. So basically, but I've seen a lot of people, especially on YouTube, some on social media, but not too many people have talked about it. I've been talking about leaks and things like that, and then it's the Tila show and things like that, and I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't want to believe it. I thought, no, there's a long-term story here. And granted, there is a part 2, so I'm still willing to watch part 2, barring a certain thing being fixed, which I'll get to. So anyway, the first episode's pretty good. There's a lot of action going on. There's a big fight. And then in this big moment, they're in the under Castle Grayskull, which is hiding this other magical realm, I guess. Tila's been made the man of arms, basically, to lead the thing, which that's fine. I thought that was a fine character thing and a character growth for her. Why not? She's taking over her dad's role. Totally fine. Orko's still goofy and stuff like that, like he always was. Some of the characters were still, it was good to see Merman and Trapjaw and, even Stinkor made an appearance. There was a lot of, girl characters, Triclops. So anyway, what happens basically is there's this big thing. He has to hold the power sword up, and then it splits. And then basically, big explosion, and then basically He-Man and Skeletor are both just wiped out. So I'm like, okay, I'll sit through. And then basically they have to go and tell King Randor and them that your son is dead, and Prince Adam was He-Man, and apparently Queen Marlena knew, and King Randor didn't. And of course, Tila didn't know. So they basically, she basically throws her thing down and says, I'm done with all of you because you lied to me, and da-da-da. Okay, she was a little emotional. It was a little bit tacky, I thought, but because it's what bothered me about the whole premise of it is that she wasn't the only person who didn't know he was He-Man. It's so that already annoyed me. So okay, whatever. So we get to the second episode, and we've kind of time jumped a little bit then, and basically magic is disappearing. A lot of people are pretty much, Man of Arms has been banished by the king, and Evil Lynn's kind of out on her own, Beastman's kind of on his own. Like I said, Triclops is running some kind of, he's taking over Snake Mountain, and he's basically, turning people into robots or half robots and stuff. He's like a cult leader, which was an interesting choice. I didn't hate it. It was, it was interesting to do something with that character, instead of us being in Skeletor underling, I guess. And then we reveal Tila and her. I'm sorry, it's a god awful haircut. I do not understand why they did that to Tila. There was nothing wrong with her previous haircut that she had. It's I don't remember how old Tila's supposed to be, But that haircut looks like someone who wants to rebel against their parents, like a teenager who's like, I'm gonna get a tattoo, or I'm gonna get a piercing, or I'm gonna shave my head, or whatever. That's what it looks like, and it looks stupid. It's one of the. It's almost as bad as a man bun, or like in wrestling how Rob Van Dam had that ponytail but shaved thing, which I always thought looked like so 90s and tacky. So yeah, I already didn't like that, but I was like, okay, whatever, I can oversee that. And then there's this whole other character, Andrea or something like that, who I guess is in the comics. I haven't really read a whole lot of the comics, they're here and there. Um, and basically they're kind of, scavenging and stuff like that and taking jobs here and there to just make money. Basically, they're just mercenaries, I guess. And there's kind of little teases here, I guess you could call it queer baiting, that they might be involved together, which, okay, guys, let me just say this right now. No problem with LGBT characters being involved in the show, even in this show. Obviously, a lot of people used to joke about Prince Adam and He-Man, it being, it is what it is. It's just something we were obsessed with, and that's fine. Whatever floats your boat. But let me just say, nowhere in the show, in the original show, which I know was in the 80s, so it was different, and nowhere in the comics has Teela ever been bisexual, lesbian, whatever. So, while they didn't make a good confirmation about it, it was something that's even worse, which is queer baiting. It's like, if you're gonna do that, just do it. Don't tease it, just do it. Get it over with, and then let's keep going with the character. Because that's my whole thing. A lot of times with CW and things like that, they'll do something like, my character is gay, and that's going to be my only personality the entire thing. Doesn't matter what powers I have or anything else, I'm just gay. And that's horrible, because that's an insult to LGBT plus people, who I have lots of friends who belong to that community. Great people. And I think if you're going to do a character, you do it justice. But at the same time, if there's characters already in the comics that you can use, you're freaking lazy to just change a character. I'm sorry, it drives me nuts. So anyway, whatever. So He-Man is dead, Skeletor is dead, at least right now. But I'm like, okay, well, this is going to go somewhere, right? They said it was going to be Teela's story. I thought, okay, this would be part one. It's going to be Teela's story, and we'll get He-Man back by the end. So anyway, we go through the second episode, and then Evil Lynn, basically in disguise, sends them on a job, and like I said, they face off with Trapjaw and Tricops. And then basically it leads to Evil Lynn trying to show that she's trying to get magic back to the sorceress, who's losing a lot of magic, and Orko's really sick, and they go to find Man of Arms, and there's a big little father-daughter angry moment there, and and we see Roboto comes in, that's cool, and then of course there's a lot of angst and stuff like that. There's a lot of decent flashback scenes. I enjoy the flashback scenes because you actually get to see He-Man in action and actually be in the show that he's always been the lead of. So it was like, okay, cool. And him and Teela together, like, I don't have a problem with that because they were always together in the show. And in the comics, they actually get married and she becomes the new sorceress and he becomes king. Just a little. If you haven't read the comics, that's literally what frickin' happens. So anyway, whatever. We're just going on the story. So they find out they have to go to this kind of land of the dead, basically. I think that's what's happening here. I'm trying to think what happens in the third episode. Anyway, so, yeah, they get Man of Arms. He's going to come with them. Roboto's going to come with them because apparently he can reforge the power sword. And so they face off with Merman, and then Man of Arms shows up and helps them. So Man of Arms actually gets to look strong. So I know a lot of people have been saying there's no strong male characters in here, and I think that's not true. I think several of the male characters were at least treated decently well. One thing that annoyed me is there was a moment where they did a flashback scene and He-Man made some kind of corny joke, which he always did anyway, and lots of superheroes do, like Spider-Man. And then they made a joke out of it of just like, oh, he actually said that, he had the humor of a teenager. And then literally later, this Andra character makes almost just as bad of a pun joke, and we're supposed to just laugh at it. It's like, fuck you. So anyway, whatever. We go on, and then they go to this land of the dead, and then there's a Scareglow, who is clearly voiced by Tony Todd. If you know Tony Todd's voice, you can clearly tell. That was cool. I really enjoyed the Scareglow thing, the animation with it. And he kind of traps them all separate. Beastman's trapped with Andra and Roboto, and then Evil Lynn's stuck with Orko, and then Tila's by herself facing out with Scareglow, and he's trying to find her fear and says, "I'll give you the power sword if you give me your fear and feed on their fear." And even when he's saying Tila, I'm just like, it's Candyman. So that was kind of cool. It was definitely good casting there. Oh yes, and Merman was Kevin Conroy, and there was definitely moments you could be like, he's totally Batman here. I know. And yes, Mark Hamill, and there you can tell there's a little bit of Joker in his Skeletor voice. He's trying hard not to be Joker, but there's definitely a hint of it there. So it is what it is. He did that character for a long time. So anyway, they have sort of this Star Wars moment because, as Kevin Smith said, he was influenced a lot by other things like Marvel and Star Wars and all that other stuff. And so she has a thing where she faces off with pretty much an evil version of He-Man, who's not Faker, who's actually, evil version of He-Man. Then she has an evil version of herself. So very Darth Vader in the cave, Luke Skywalker in the cave moment right there. That's been done to death. But whatever, it's fine. It wasn't bad, and then they kind of show that she's got some power too. Okay, whatever. I said maybe she's a new sorceress. Very simple thing. That's all you have to do. So anyway, they end up going. Orko ends up sacrificing himself and really using his magic. Gets a nice big send-off moment. Mossman gets burned to life by Skeletor in like the first episode too. So hey, Mossman, thanks for coming. Anyway, so then they get sent to Pre-Eternia, which essentially is we were basically in hell, now we're in heaven, I guess, is sort of what the end. And there's Prince Adam is there, and we also see Hero and King Grayskull, who is clearly voiced by Dennis Haysbert from the Major League movies and 24 and the Allstate commercials. I guess he was race bent, which I'm like, I can sort of take that with a cartoon more than live action. It's kind of just like, and it's not like it was one of those characters where I'm like, oh yeah, that character, because I don't remember really seeing much of King Grayskull in the original show, so it's not like a thing where I'm like, damn it, it's like, whatever, Dennis Haysbert's fine, he does a good job of that. So the whole thing is basically that they have to get the power sword forged. Roboto does, and then that basically kills Roboto off. So let's see, we've killed off Orko, we've killed off He-Man, we've killed off Skeletor, we've killed off Mossman. So that's 5 characters we've already killed off. And then, so then they have to, they get the sword, they're going to go back across, they can send them back, and they're telling Adam, well, if you leave, you won't probably be able to come back, and, this is your one chance to be in paradise. But, and at first I was kind of worried, oh, he's just going to stay there. Please don't make him stay there. And then he didn't. He goes with them, because he's like, I'm staying with you, Tila. And then she gives him the power sword, says, remember the thing. And he starts to charge it up, and he's charging it up. And I'm like, all right, cool, this is going to be a good moment. We're going to get the Alpha power moment, and then everything will kind of, then this can finally sort of become like, He-Man and Tila together, fighting together. And then all of a sudden, the moment that pissed me off and ruined the whole goddamn show I was actually somewhat enjoying. There were problems, but I was enjoying it. Prince Adam, before he can say, I have the power, gets stabbed by fucking Skeletor. Through the fucking chest. And then he takes a power sword, and now he's got the power. He's the master of the universe. You almost had it. You almost had it. You know what? I didn't even mind the Tila on the journey thing, and having her character be expounded about, and her having some powers and things like that. Because, like I said, she's the daughter of the sorceress, so she's gonna have some powers anyway. That's fine. But it's clear as day what they're setting up. And it pisses me off. Let me just say this, okay? A lot of people, a lot of the usual YouTube channels who go pretty much criticize anything that has a strong female or thing, and it gets overboard, I agree. They criticize Loki for the bisexual moment, which was really not that big of a moment. I don't understand why they were so critical about it. Like I said, there's moments when you can be like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a situation where they're putting down a male character or something like that. I didn't see too much of that in this. They obviously were propping Tila up a little bit, but I didn't feel, other than making fun of his humor, I didn't feel like they were bashing him the whole time, at least. She clearly had, feelings for him, whether it was friendly or romantic, whatever. And so, okay, that's fine. Uh, but here's my problem. And Kevin Smith recently just basically said everybody should grow the fuck up and all that. And, then that's fair. Bombarding Rotten Tomatoes or, trolling people online or bullying the actors or Kevin Smith himself, that's childish and stupid. It is. And I've seen a lot of people compare this to Last Jedi. Let me make a quick little turnaround here. A lot of the movies that have been criticized over the last couple of years, let's look at it. The Ghostbusters reboot, Last Jedi, Terminator Dark Fate, Birds of Prey, Charlie's Angels. I'm going to look at something about those that's a difference between this show and what they've done with this little cliffhanger and those. In Ghostbusters, as bad as it was, because I did not like that movie, it had its moments. Don't get me wrong. I don't just full out bash a show. I watched the whole show, or I watched the whole movie. I see what I liked. I'll point at what I liked, what I didn't like. All right, and there were some moments that I liked in Ghostbusters, but there were moments that were just so cringy and bad that it was just like, ugh, why'd you even do this? But at least, even though they had cameos, at no point was Peter Venkman or any of the other Ghostbusters shoved aside and pushed aside and had these four characters just push them aside, get in the background, whatever. Charlie's Angels, that was always a female property anyway. I don't even know why they went so hard on the female empowerment, because it's like that was always a female empowerment show anyway. There was no reason to go all like, Elizabeth Banks did with it. It was just kind of stupid. Dark Fate, other than the, spoiler, killing of John Connor at the beginning, which was stupid, it was basically just another Terminator film. Same thing, same basic plot, same, we're still never going to the future. We're just going to keep doing the same rotating thing, just with some new characters thrown in, basically filling in the roles of the other characters that were there. You still had Linda Hamilton back. You had her back as Sarah Connor, who was the original hero. You had Schwarzenegger, and there was a Terminator. So there were still other than John Connor being killed off, you still had your major characters there. And then with, like The Last Jedi. Yes, Luke Skywalker got treated pretty poorly in Last Jedi. And we can talk about Rey and the problems with that character and stuff like that, but I understood that at least, in that, okay, Rey is the new hero. She's the one that this trilogy is focused on. I don't have a problem that Mark Hamill's not the lead, okay? I'm not expecting Luke Skywalker to be the lead. I figured that out in Force Awakens when he wasn't even in the damn movie till the end. Okay, this is definitely not Luke's story anymore. Okay. Wasn't great, but I can accept that. Also, Mark Hamill's older, Harrison Ford's older, Carrie Fisher was older. Carrie Fisher, God bless her soul, was older. So clearly then, although I think they could have at least gotten one movie out of them before they handed off, that's a story for another time. But at the same time, it was Rey's story. Okay, that's fine. Luke's still there. What else? Birds of Prey, well, that was still a female-led property. That was just, I had problems with the way they did things in there, but just some of the humor didn't do it for me. But anyway, here's the difference between this show and all of those. He-Man is the main character of the Masters of the Universe. He has always been the main character of the Masters of the Universe. So if, spoiler, if you didn't already hear it, he truly is dead, Prince Adam's dead, He-Man's dead, whatever, then they can shove this show. Because I'm sorry. You know what we had to have your female empowerment? We had She-Ra. That is literally why She-Ra was made. So that the girls could have a character to look up to. And they had a She-Ra show, which I never watched it. I heard, I didn't like the animation. That was kind of my big turnoff for it. I just don't like that particular animation. It just didn't do it for me. And it just felt like, I also didn't like that they bashed the original creators of the original show, there were some things I read about it, and it was just kind of like, whatever. But okay, that's there. So why in the fuck would you kill off your main fucking character? This is not a situation like Star Wars, where, okay, this actor's in his 60s. So, okay, we want to continue this franchise. We have this new character that we are building up. He-Man is basically, this is a continuation. This is not a reboot. This is not a what if. This is supposed to be a continuation made for the fans of the original show. This is literally what Kevin Smith said. Made for the fans of the original show. And don't get me wrong, like I said, there's some good stuff in it. There's some really good action. The animation is good. There's some decent humor here and there. Like I said, the Scareglow thing was really cool. I enjoyed the villains. I could, take or leave that Andra character. I think she's kind of just annoying, but whatever. She's there. I don't really care. But, and I should have known when they didn't call it He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But I don't understand, and this is a really big Hollywood thing that drives me nuts. Why does female empowerment come at the expense of a male character? And I don't want to be like one of those people, women, damn women, I know what feminism is. You know what feminism is, and I shouldn't have to mansplain it to you. Feminism is equality. You know what you could have done with this show? You could have had He-Man and Teela fighting side by side. She could have the powers of the sorceress, like she's supposed to get, and he has this power sword and gets his power sword and his power's back. And he can, or maybe have one half the sword, Skeletor grabs it and has that power of the sword. But just having some cheap ass fucking, he gets stabbed before he can say the words. What the fuck was that, dude? It's just like any of those other properties, I can't even compare them to this. This I feel is even worse. And I'm not one of those people that's gonna be like, oh, it ruined my childhood, because I can watch the 2002 show, I can watch the original show, I can watch it on YouTube if I want, and still enjoy it. It's cheesy and all its cheesy 80s goodness. And I wanted to like this show. I really did. There were moments I was like, it's kind of annoying here and there, this, arc, but I'm like, let's see where it goes. Let's see it out. And you know what? They almost had me. Heck, he just said I have the power, turned into He-Man there, and then maybe somehow Skeletor shows back up. Whatever. I figured Skeletor wasn't gone, but to just completely cut down Prince Adam right there, that's how he's going to go down. We've already seen him sacrifice himself earlier as He-Man, and now we're just going to kill Prince Adam. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to your own fucking show that you're being pushed out of in the name of, obviously, what they're doing. It's female empowerment. And I don't understand it. Why is female empowerment at the expense of male characters? Why does a male character have to be pushed aside to prop up? Especially when it's his fucking show. It has always been his fucking show. And I don't know what has happened to you, Kevin Smith, but this is shit. Okay? And you can tell me to grow up. Why don't you grow up? Why don't you not wake up and wake and bake like a fucking idiot? Just saying. And you can't sit there and literally call it a He-Man show. Teela's a big part of the story. She's a big part of the story, and we're focused on the story. But it's a He-Man show. How is it a He-Man show if you call off He-Man? Draw me a picture of how it's a He-Man show. Now, you may correct this. And if you do, I will eat my words. I will even apologize. And a lot of this is just, I'm annoyed by it because that ending killed it for me. Because, there were moments of it's a little annoying, but I was still enjoying some of it. Unlike a lot of other people who probably just watched the first episode and just said, crap. Didn't see the story out. I'm willing to see the story out. I'm even willing to watch your part 2. But if you don't want to lose all credibility, if you haven't already, by bashing fans and telling them to grow up, then you better make it right, buddy. There better be He-Man at the end of season 2 or whatever. Or part 2, whatever it is. If this is just basically Teela's going to get the power sword and beat down, Skeletor and basically be She-Ra, then you should have just made a She-Ra show. because Tila was already a good character. There was no reason. I saw a thing where it's like, oh, Tila was the only one who didn't. She was not the only one who didn't know the secret in the show. It was literally like, what, 4 characters that knew that he was He-Man. Although, it's kind of like Superman with the glasses. It's kind of obvious. Other than the muscles, they basically look the same, guys. Come on. It's like, and I think they did. It's been a long time since I watched the original series, but I believe they did an episode of why they were keeping that secret. It wasn't we gotta keep it from her, and now she'll be angsty and mad. It's just, I don't know. I really wanted this to be good. And I do know that there is a He-Man and the Masters Universe show coming out sometime to Netflix. That will be more, obviously, focused on He-Man. What a concept. If you had just said right out from the start, Kevin Smith, that this was a what-if situation, or this is really going to focus on Tila, and this is not a He-Man show, okay, that's fine. You're telling us what it is, and then we can choose whether to watch it or not. And I would have still given it a watch, even if you would come out and said that. But 4 episodes were pretty good. 5th episode was going great until that last moment. To me, it was the last moment that killed it for me. Because I was like, you know what? We're going somewhere. Part 2 is going to get set up. I'm sure Skeletor pops up somehow, whatever. I was like, okay, this is going to be good. But I should have known when he didn't say I have the power right away, that some shit was going to go down. And all I gotta say is that I didn't fully show that he's dead. So I'm hoping, against hope, that Prince Adam is not dead. He-Man is not dead. Like, I would rather them just stand together. We have to stop. Hollywood has to stop this stupid shit. I'm all for strong female characters. I love strong female characters. Wonder Woman was a great strong female character. Xena Warrior Princess was a great female character. Captain Marvel to a point, Scarlet Witch, there's plenty of great, strong female characters. But we have to stop this crap that Hollywood seems to be obsessed with now. That is, well, in order to empower the women, we have to put down this man and call everybody man babies and trolls and things like that. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely some that are. A lot of them are on YouTube. I fully admit that. I've made fun of them on the sketch thing before. So I don't want to be associated with those people. I'm going to make that clear. Because unlike those people, I didn't just come right on here and bash the entire show. I bashed one particular moment on the show that really bothered me. The other ones were just like annoyance here and there, but it wasn't ruining the show. Because there was still some good stuff going on. And look, Kevin, I don't know you. But I've always respected you as a filmmaker, as a comic book fan. It's disappointing. If this is the route you're going, and it's just going to be the Tila show the whole time, then just call it Tila and the Masters Universe, and be done with it. Because what you did is you lied to people, and I hate that. Don't freaking lie. Don't do this subverting expectations crap. Because guess what? You piss people off. And I usually don't get too pissed off about things like this. I usually can, even with Last Jedi, there were parts of it I enjoyed. I didn't like the way they used Luke Skywalker and some of the weird things they did in there, but, I still I didn't run out of the theater angry. I was just, I stayed for the whole movie. I watched the whole movie. And most of the other ones, I watched the whole movie. I didn't just stop it and walk out. A lot of these other guys stomp off and see one bad thing. I watched your whole show. The entire part 1, so, and I don't regret watching it, but I am just a little angry, because those of you who know me know, why I identified with He-Man? Because his name was Prince Adam. That's my name too, and I had all those He-Man toys as a kid. I literally have my voicemail is literally the opening of that thing. It says Adam, Prince of Eternity, defended Seacrest and Grayskull. And I've gotten many comments on that voicemail too. And I don't understand this obsession that Hollywood is doing, where we are just going out of our way to put down male characters or to bash these characters and just be like, ha ha, you like this? Squash! You'll like this instead. Eat this up instead. Why? There was no reason to even do this with Tila. You want to have Tila go on a thing to save the Power Sword, do that, and have an adventure? I got no problem with that. There's been plenty of comic book stories where a hero gets sidelined and the other teammates or whatever have to go and find something to save them. I'm fine with that. As like a storyline for like one season or one episode. Like with Smallville when, he'd get the red kryptonite and stuff, It was for a episode. And then things got fixed and then we had our hero back. And I was okay, even with the 5 episodes, it's like, okay, we'll get He-Man back. He'll have his Power Sword, he'll be back in action, him and Tila can work together, and it'll be great. But then you do that moment, and it's just like, I'm really hoping against hope that you didn't just literally kill He-Man, not once, but twice in the same fucking show. Because if that is your end goal, your end game is just to make this the Tila show and she's the new He-Man or the She-Man or whatever the hell you want to call it, then you've wasted everyone's time. And that's a discredit to all those voice actors who are all doing a great job. Sarah Michelle Gellar is a good voice on Tila, and like I said, Tony Todd, amazing as always, So it's like, I enjoyed all the voice acting. The voice acting was solid. The animation was solid. Most of the story wasn't bad. There's definitely a little too much. And he admits to being influenced by Marvel and things like that, and I understand that. Being influenced is one thing, but literally having seen straight out of Empire Strikes Back, kind of a little tacky, just gonna say. He-Man has always been a goofy show. It was a goofy show in the 80s, alright? But I never felt like, it'd be one thing if Tila was treated like some bimbo or something like that on the show, or like, oh, get out of the way, woman, let me handle it, That was never that way. She was literally part of the Royal Guard, in charge of guarding Prince Adam and things like that. She was always standing side by side with He-Man. There's times that she went after, I think one time he had lost his powers in the show, and then she was ready to go charge after Skeletor herself. So this wasn't like, now we've evolved this character and we've changed this character for the better. Like, it was a bad character to begin with. The character was fine the way she was. And you could have evolved her into having her be the new sorceress, like I said, in the comics. So I don't understand this unnecessary need to be like, oh, well, we want to prop this character up because blah, 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 blah. It's like, I understand live action, because then it's like, especially with the MCU stuff, with like the Captain America thing. Obviously, Chris Evans moved on, so you want to hand the man off to Falcon, and they did a decent story with that, so I'm fine with it. It's true to the comics, it's canon. Whether you want to like that canon or not, it's still canon. And I thought they did a good job with that. So, but it's animated. This isn't live action. This is animation. This is also a continuation of the original show. And there's definitely elements of it there. But you didn't stick to the landing. And that's what upsets me. And I don't hate Kevin Smith. I'm not going to not ever watch anything that he does again. I'm not one of those people like, I'm boycotting Kevin Smith. I'm a little irritated with him for the choices he made there, but I'm not, I don't know. I was worried about stuff from seeing a lot of reports, but I was like, no, I need to see it through myself. I need to see my own judgment, and I'm glad I watched it. I'm not regretful that I watched it. I'm glad I watched it and saw it through. I just don't like the current cliffhanger. I also thought it was a little bit overkill to kill so many characters. But whatever, one or two here and there, but it feels a little excessive. So I don't know, that's my take on it, guys. I hope you don't think I'm some rage monster or, troll or, fanboy, whiny, crybaby, man baby, whatever you guys call everybody else that criticizes things. Because I'm not. I'm really not. And if you've seen most of the reviews on here, I think maybe outside of the Birds of Prey review, just because me and Anna really didn't like it a lot, I actually liked it more than she did. That's not really how I am. I try to give a fair, honest review. And I do give the spoilers and I give that warning. So, I try to give a fair, honest review of what I saw and what I liked, what I didn't like, things like that. That's my whole thing. Because I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I get it. Sometimes you make a choice. I'm influenced. I have my own comic book stories and plays that I've written that, yeah, of course, there's definitely influences I have from movies and things like that, and other comic book stories, of course, but sometimes it's just like, it just feels, some stuff just feels so blatantly like, I took this from this, and it's so goddamn obvious, and it's like, I get it, you're a fanboy. I get it, Kevin Smith. I'm a fanboy too, and I feel like we should be able to relate to that, but clearly you weren't that much of a He-Man fanboy, because if you were a He-Man fanboy, you wouldn't have done some of the choices that you made. And I wasn't asking this to be the exact same show as we got in the 80s. I'm not expecting that. I'm fine with evolution of the show. I'm fine with characters growing. I'm even fine with Tila's character growing some, minus the stupid haircut. But, yeah, basically, decent show, but you lost me at the ending, and I just hope that that's not literally where you're going to go with it. Because it was very clickbaity, cliffhanger-baity thing, where it's like, and now we have to wait and see whether this, and like I said, I may be wrong. He-Man may not be dead. He may still come back. I really hope so. Because to me, what they did there just feels more like, this is the series finale of the series, and we're going to have this character die, and da-da-da, That would have been fine if it was a series finale. Not when it's a continuation of a show. Not when it's a continuation that's going to have a part 2. And if part 2 is just Tila taking the power sword and basically being She-Ra, then you can count me out. Because if you want to do that, watch She-Ra. And that's fine. I like She-Ra. I like the original one. I thought it was really good. So it's like, but it just feels, I don't know. It frustrates me. I don't want to go off on a huge, large rant here, but it's been a couple of days, and like, there's been so many properties that have been brought back or had sequels or reboots, and then you go and see them, and you're just like, oh, yeah, that was okay, but they should have done this, or they should have remade this, or whatever the case. And this was kind of like, I've been waiting a long time, since the 2002 series went off. I've been waiting a long time for another animated one or a live-action movie. I've been waiting 30 years for a new live-action movie that's actually set in Eternia, because there's so much they could do now. I don't need the best actor in the world to play He-Man. It's just, whatever, whoever, Now I'm hopeful for the other animated show that they're going to do on Netflix. I don't know when that'll be out. And I'm hopeful that we'll eventually get a live-action one that maybe will actually focus on the character that the show is literally called after. To me, it was almost like if you were doing a Batman show, and then you just said, "Okay, Batman, we're going to kill you off," and now Batgirl is the show's lead now. But Batgirl is her own hero. We don't need to, or Lois Lane takes over as Superman or something. It just feels like, and that doesn't mean that Tila's a side piece or anything like that. She was a good, strong female character already. She was a badass in the original show. And they had a good friendship with potential for a relationship. They never really explored that in the original show because it was a kid's show, so, whatever. So anyway, I'll just say that I'll give it a B, which is actually pretty generous. Same thing I gave Black Widow and Falcon Winter Soldier. So I'll give it a B because the animation was good. The voice acting was solid. There was some really cool, scenes like the Scarecrow scene, and it was cool seeing a lot of those villains and characters again. There's actually a lot of other hero characters I would like to have seen show up, which hopefully they will. But yeah, that ending just kind of was cringy, and something I've seen done in a lot of other movies and a lot of other TV shows, and it just felt like, really? This is like, I get bringing Skeletor back. I didn't expect Skeletor to be gone, because who the hell is going to be a villain without Skeletor, really? So it's like, but to just do that, you couldn't have had him stab somebody else, But anyway, I don't want to go on too long, guys. Like I said, I don't want to be compared to a lot of the other people who are posting articles and trashing this entire thing as trash, 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 and woke trash and things like that. Because it's really not that woke. Other than the stupid queer baiting thing they do, you know. Which, like I said before, don't queer bait. Just, if you're gonna do that with a character, then just do it. I'd rather you just do that than be like, well, are they or aren't they? Just like that's childish '90s type stuff. That's passe now. Just like, if you're gonna have a characters be queer, lesbian, bisexual, whatever, trans, whatever, then just do it. Just go for it. I mean, She-Ra did that, so I mean, whatever you thought about that show, they at least went for it instead of like teasing it, you know. So, just don't do that. But beyond that, I mean, and a little bit of the female empowerment stuff in there, but it wasn't too much. I didn't feel like Man of Arms was treated pretty well, I thought, and it was given some nice badass moments. So it seems some of the villains were given some badass moments too, I thought, and even some of the other male characters, Roboto and Oracle even got some good moments. So I wouldn't say that what I saw from one review, no strong male characters. I thought even Prince Adam had some strong moments there in his scenes. So and He-Man obviously got some big moments, sacrificial death at the beginning and stuff. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic that they'll stick to the landing and that He-Man will be back in the show. But until I see a trailer for the next season, or I hear anything more about it, I'm going to go with what I saw and just hope that I'm wrong with this cliffhanger. And if I am wrong and that's not what they're doing and He-Man's not dead, then I'll eat my words. And I apologize about the wake and bake comment. I saw the whole grow up thing and it was like, you're still smoking weed when you wake up. Nothing wrong with smoking weed, obviously. But it's just like, I don't know. You kind of get to a certain point where it's like, you're kind of like, you have a family, man, and I don't know. Just my take. But whatever. You do what you want to do, whatever you're comfortable with. Like I said, I still like Kevin Smith. I like Sarah Michelle Gellar. I like, a lot of the talent involved. So I'm not going to be one of those people who just like, oh, I boycott them, I bash them, this is woke trash. It's not. It's really not woke trash. It's just, it's unnecessary changing of characters when they don't need to do that. Because why would you shove your main character? And my wife agrees with me, by the way, too. I'm not just saying that she's agreed with me. We were talking about this, and she agreed, like, I have a reason to be a little irritated. So anyway, I'll wrap this up, guys. So thanks for tuning in. I have watched it now. I've been kind of regretting it. It's like with Cobra Kai, I was so excited because it was so good. And I'd been waiting for something good with the Karate Kid. So I was really hoping with He-Man that this was going to be something else that I'd be like, oh, awesome, that was kick-ass, and I can watch it again. And no, it's just like, yeah, let's see how the second part goes. So anyway, guys, I'll wrap this up. Hope you all have a good night, and yeah, I have the power. All right, guys. Night, guys.